welcome everyone to the 2022 League of Women Voters Candidate Forum. These are for the Larimer County offices, the countywide offices. I'm Lee Thielen, I'm with the League of Women Voters, and I will be the moderator for this evening. A big special thank you to our candidates. We really appreciate you being here tonight. And to the volunteers who make everything work. And thank you to the City of Fort Collins and their staff. Carson, that's you, for allowing us to have this forum in the City Council chambers tonight. This forum will feature the candidates for three very important county offices: County Commissioner, Clerk and Recorder, and Coroner. This forum will be shown on Comcast Channels 14 and 881 and Connection Channel 14. It will be live streamed on www.fcgov.com/FCTV and recorded for later viewing. And that's very important to know it's recorded for later viewing. The video will be on the Fort Collins, the League of Women Voters, the Larimer County website, and the League of Women Voters vote411.org for on-demand viewing. And we hope that there are many that you make use of that technological advantage we have there. I will very quickly go over the format we'll be using tonight. Each candidate will be giving 90 seconds to introduce themselves by stating why they're running for office, what skills and experience they bring to that position, or anything else you want to say. At the close of the forum, each candidate will be given 1 minute to make a closing statement. In between those two times, there will be questions asked, and you will have 1 minute to answer those questions. Our timer today is Gwen Lipke. Gwen? There's Gwen. She's tough. So, you have to understand there's no getting around her. She's going to hold you to the line. She'll keep us on schedule. And we have terrific volunteers over here sorting questions, and we've had people greeting the audience, and a big thank you to Gwen for organizing these important civic events. We are unable to host the county assessor candidates Bob Overbeck and David Eisenbraun at tonight's forum due to a prior commitment by one of the candidates. We invite the public to visit the online voter guide, vote411.org, to learn more about the position of these two candidates and all the candidates who appear on your ballot. Immediately after the forum, the audience is invited to meet the unopposed candidates, and hopefully assessor candidate Bob Overbeck will be in the lobby as well. So with that, we'll move on to questions, and we will start with questions that apply to everyone. So we'll go around, and then I will try to remember to start at a different person each time. Pardon? Oh, yeah, we have to do those first. Before we get to any questions, you have a chance for your opening comments. So we'll start with you, Justin.
Good evening. My name is Justin Smith. I'm currently your Larimer County Sheriff. I've been for the last 12 years. I want to
check your microphone, please.
I'm going to use that button. That works better.
Yay.
Good evening. Justin Smith, your Larimer County Sheriff. I have served you in that capacity for the last 12 years or 3 terms. I first want to start out by thanking the League and the city and everybody for making this happen. On behalf of all the candidates, we appreciate it. One message I'm going to start out with is we're all going to share one message, is that local elections are critical and important to how life works in your community, and I honor all the candidates that are here tonight. My background is 30 years in public safety. When I was 22 years old, I raised my right hand and I swore an oath of office to serve and protect my community. I've carried that office or that oath out over the last 30 years. The interesting thing in the office of sheriff is that we're an office that's out in the community. We're not one the community typically comes to. So my experience from the days of being a young deputy, we're getting out to every corner of the county. I met people in the places that they were with the needs that they had, they brought to us, and you customize what you do for them. So that is a unique part of what I have. As far as why I'm running for the office of commissioner, my term's coming to a close as sheriff. I've been 31 years in this capacity at the sheriff's office, 12 as your sheriff. It's time for change. I was looking for that opportunity to see where I can continue to serve the community. The experiences I've had serving as sheriff have taught me a lot about serving the community. At 54 years old, I have a lot to give, and I look at this as an opportunity to give in a different way, as I've learned so much from my time in county service. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin, and thanks to all the folks who are here this evening. Thanks to the League of Women Voters, the City of Fort Collins. My name is John Kafalis. currently the Larimer County Commissioner residing in District 1. A reminder that even though we are required to live in a particular district, it's an at-large election, and we represent the entire county. There are three overarching reasons why I am running for re-election for a second term. The first one has to do with this notion that being an elected official is a wonderful opportunity to serve as in public service, and I've dedicated my adult life to public service. And if one does it as an elected official and does it with transparency, accountability, and being accessible to people, it's a wonderful privilege. Secondly, I care about this community a great deal. This has been my home, Fort Collins, Larimer County, for 46 years, since 1976. We've raised our kids here, our family, and this place is really important to me. And I've always tried to contribute and make things better. Finally, I've been doing this job for the last 4 years. I've learned a great deal. There are a lot of details, and we do a lot of important stuff. And so I believe I have that experience, and I think we have a decent track record of what we've accomplished in the past 4 years. Thank you very much.
Tony? Hi, my name is Tony Baker, and I'm running to be your Larimer County Clerk and Recorder. I want to apologize in advance if I stumble over my words. I do have stage fright, but I am here because I think our elections are that important and that you need to hear from all candidates. I've been in Larimer County for almost 20 years. I've raised my family here. I volunteer. I'm part of the community. I'm part of Meals on Wheels. I deliver for them. I have many volunteer organizations that I work with. And I feel that this position, this office, needs a change. We have had the same thing for the last 4 years, and we need someone different in here that is going to actually push forward for innovations and push forward with integrity and push forward for the change that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Angela Myers, your Larimer County Clerk and Recorder, and I want to specifically focus my comments right now on the experience that I bring to this office and the historical knowledge you have of me. I worked at the side of my predecessor in the Clerk and Recorder's office for nearly 10 years before I became clerk. Experience in this office is absolutely critical. It is a very complex office. Everything we do comes with lots of statutes and rules and requirements that we must meet. I have been your clerk for nearly 10 years now, and I am a member of the Colorado County Clerks Association. I am a member of the executive board of the association. I am the Central Region Chair, which is all of the large counties down the corridor. I have been Education Committee Chair since becoming clerk in 2013 for the association. I am a Vehicle Licensing Legislative Co-Chair for the association and have been since my tenure as clerk. I have been appointed by the Secretary of State as the ERTB, Electronic Recording Technology Board member, and I serve as the chair of the grant committee for that board. Experience matters. We've seen what a lack of experience can do in a clerk's office across the state, and I think there is no more important time than now to be sure that we have experience in this office. I look forward to sharing some other points as we go along. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Stephen, go ahead.
Good evening, and thanks for having me, and thanks for tuning in and listening. My name is Stephen Hanks, and I'm running for Larimer County Coroner. I grew up in Fort Collins, and I live in Loveland. I'm an Army veteran and a CSU graduate. I also have a master's degree in biosocial criminology and a law degree from the University of Denver, and vast and varied experience working in the Larimer County Coroner's Office and in the Colorado coroner community. I want to bring to the office a coroner that's proactive in county government and proactive and engaged in the community. There's a big need for information sharing and access to data and statistics. So I want to create an online dashboard with up-to-date data and statistics so our partners in the community fighting the opioid crisis bringing attention to suicide prevention and substance abuse, working to improve our roadways and traffic safety and safety in our communities. They rely on this data and important data throughout the year to accomplish their missions and set their budgets. So I want to bring that to them. I also want to overhaul the annual report so that it actually analyzes the data that I'm putting out throughout the year, shows our successes and the success of our communities, and outlines what we're going to do in the years going forward. I want a coroner's office that represents the diversity of our community and respects the people in the community and their cultures, their individuality, and their beliefs. So I want to bring that to the coroner's office and make sure we're doing our job with respect, with dignity, with experience, with education and professionalism. Thank you.
Matt, you're up.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. My name is Matt Canega, and I appreciate you being here tonight. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a Marine. I'm a Purple Heart recipient, and I currently serve as your Chief Deputy Coroner at the Coroner's Office. For the last 13 years of my life, I've been dedicated to one thing, which is the service and care for the families who are grieving and losing loved ones in this community. I am certified medical legal death investigator through the Colorado Coroners Association. I'm also nationally certified through the American Board of Medical Legal Death Investigators, and I sit on the board of the Colorado Coroners Association, where I sit on the education and legislative committees. I have a vision for the future of the coroner's office, which has three primary things that I hope to share more about tonight. I think my opponent and I agree on data sharing. I want the data that the coroner's office has and that we're actively working to provide to the public to save lives. I believe that we need to break down the walls of an office, which historically has operated a bit in the shadows. So that's the first thing I want to do is absolutely I agree that data sharing is important. Number two, I want to bring mental health partnerships and awareness to our staff and to the public at large. You know, our office is dealing with trauma every day, and so I want to equip them for a long career, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. And then finally, I hope to engage in authentic and real community engagement by creating a social media platform so that we can communicate directly with the public and you can communicate with us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now we get to do questions. Now these questions will be for all of you, so we're going to start with John because we started with the first one with Justin. So this will be the same question for everyone, and you have a minute to answer these. Please state any improvements or changes to current operations of the department for which you are running that you would like to implement.
Thank you, Lee. With regard to that question, there are a lot of changes that we're continually implementing in the Board of County Commissioners and Larimer County government. Specifically, one of the changes that we've made in the past year is to establish the first ever Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Board. And the idea is to have people participating, engaging with the business of the county to help inform us regarding decisions that we make so that we can use their experiences to help inform our decisions. That would be one example of a change. And right now we're working on the budget, and we continue to focus on making sure that we tighten belts in light of the pending concerns about recession. And so there are lots of changes, Lee, that we are working on, and I'll focus just on what I've just stated. The budget is important, and certainly looking at these issues through the lens of equity, diversity, and inclusion.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And regarding the clerk and recorder's office, we'll start with Tony.
Well, I'm not actually in. Oh, thank you. I'm not actually in the office,
right.
But something that, or a couple of things that I would actually love to see implemented is a greater partnerships. There are many other counties. During this campaign, I have gone to other counties and spoken with many other county clerks, saw their processes, their different ways of doing things that we could implement in our county that aren't being implemented currently. And so there's just for example, mock elections. There's a program where they actually run elections with students, things like that. So
Thank you. Angela, would you like me to repeat the question, or are you okay?
I'm okay. You know, I have been your clerk for nearly 10 years, and I am always, the staff on my team are always looking at ways how we operate. I recall several years back, someone in leadership saying to me, "Clerk Myers, don't you need more people?" And my response was, I don't want to throw people at this problem, right? And that's the way we operate our business every day. So we have done business plans in each of the departments several times during my tenure. That continues. We've been extremely innovative and have won innovation awards from at Larimer County for our first in the state appointment feature in vehicle licensing, which kept us in good stead when COVID hit, right? Because we were prepared. Across the state, they were not so prepared to do that. And so we collaborated with them to give them the information they needed to do so. And I, you know, if I had something that I'm waiting to do in the beginning of my next term, I think I wouldn't be doing my job now. So I'm looking forward to doing more good work. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is regard to the coroner's office, Stephen?
Yeah, thank you. So as I discussed, I want to create this dashboard for data and information sharing. And it's not just putting information out there that the coroner's office has. It is based on our community partnerships and what the community needs, what information do they need to set their budgets and accomplish their missions and set their goals and monitor their success. So my dashboard is going to be a collaboration of what they need data-wise that's meaningful and useful to them. When it comes to mental health, I'm a big advocate for mental health. My master's degree in biosocial criminology focuses on brain development and injuries that affect emotion regulation and impulse control and behavioral health. I want to care for not only the coroner's office staff, but also the first responders, the hospital colleagues that are affected by the same scenes. I want to share resources and share those experiences. And then I also want to promote family advocacy, meeting families where they are emotionally and culturally, overcoming language barriers and having a process for autopsy reports and other documents to be in a language that they have and have professionals that can interact and work with the families at their level and in their language.
Okay. Matt? Excuse me, Matt, you're next.
Yeah, correct. Thank you. So innovation is incredibly important to me. At my time at the coroner's office as the chief deputy, I brought over 50 innovations or streamlined over 50 processes in the last 2 years as chief. My motto personally is progress every single day. And I believe that we need to be incredibly innovative in the office. And here's what we're actively doing to do that. I'm glad that Steve has mentioned the data dashboard. We're actively working with IT to build it right now. The IT department, the public health department, and other nonprofits in the community are all giving us information that they want as we construct this data dashboard. We're also in the process of the most in-depth and comprehensive COVID-19 statistical analysis project in the state of Colorado. We've been doing this for the last several months because we want to provide accurate data to the public health department, UC Health, Banner Health. We want to be able to provide our local physicians with the data that they need to save lives. And finally, as I mentioned, a social media page I think is very important for community engagement, and those are a few of the priorities I hope to bring early in my term. Thank you.
Thank you. And we come back to the frontier.
Thank you, Lee. Looking at the role of county commissioner, I can tell you what I plan to do is, in essence, the same thing I did as sheriff. I came into office focusing on customer service, how the deputies, the sheriff's office, the employees of county government serve the community. I'm telling nobody any secret here that COVID threw a lot of things off. It messed up a lot of the relationships in our communities. It changed the way work was done. I have witnessed a lot of county employees evacuate buildings since and never come back. On a personal level, I know it can be very frustrating to not be able to reach people because they're not interacting in that office environment. I hear that from the community. So certainly one of my drives is to make sure we get focused back on that. The employees are looking for someone to help them define what their why is, what the why of the county is, and bring that forward. So that is certainly one of those areas. Another one that's become a real challenge is defending the counties from unfunded mandates from the legislature. They're limited on where they can spend funds, and they have to account for every bill they pass on state funds. So they pass it to the counties. That's becoming a real burden on you, and my intent is to push back on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all of you. We are going to have another round now, and this time we're going to start with Tony. What unique qualities would you bring to the position you're seeking?
So I have a thirst for knowledge. I'm a quick learner. Sorry. I have a tenacious drive to learn everything that I can about the position that I'm in, and then make it better. Figure out how to make it better, how to improve the processes, how to take things and just make them work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tila?
Well, anyone who's had any exposure to me knows that I love to engage with the public. I enjoy collaboration. Before I became clerk, I was collaborative with every department in the county. That has continued during my tenure. I love collaborating with the clerks across the state. I have a great relationship with all of our legislators, no matter the side of the aisle they're on. And the most important thing I bring to this office, and this is one of the main reasons that I ran, is because this office must have a nonpartisan approach to everything it does, whether it's providing you your license plates for your vehicle, whether it's doing public record, assisting you with a marriage license of any kind, or administering elections. A nonpartisan approach is absolutely paramount, and it's difficult to have that if you don't have an understanding of the office to begin with. Otherwise, you're just coming from a party and being thrown into the mix. And so I think that is so critically important, and integrity most of all, period.
Thank you. Go ahead. Stephen.
So I have a collaborative and cooperative leadership style. And when I went to law school, I really went to focus on coming back and running the coroner's office, to cooperate and be a part of local government and a part of the community, and encourage that mentality from the people I work with and the people I'm around. Respect and integrity, loyalty and duty are Army values. It's what I came up with and during my time in the Army as part of the 7 Army values, and it's important to the way I work and important to the people that work around me. I want to encourage creative solutions and innovation. Let people in the office and my partners in the community come up with novel solutions to the problems. I'll give them guideposts and markers and expectations and a goal to the end of the mission, but I want them to come up with the means to get there creatively and using innovation. I want them to have the freedom and the flexibility to succeed, and that's kind of the leadership and the skills that I honed in law school, honed in the military, and will bring to the coroner's office.
Thank you. Matt?
Yeah, as your chief deputy, we've had some amazing challenges. I took over in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of COVID-19, and now we're seeing the effects of the fentanyl scourge. So the last several years, we've dealt with a 21% increase in deaths in Larimer County, and I have helped to scale all our operations to handle the increase in that caseload. What equips me uniquely, I would say, number one, is a proven track record of leadership within the office. I understand hiring, recruiting, budget, the facility, the equipment, training. All of these things are things that I handle on a day-to-day basis and have been for the last 2 years. I view myself as a servant leader, and I have a deep care and compassion for the people who do a nearly impossible job every single day because they're on call and responding to death scenes throughout this county. As a former death investigator for 11 years in this county, I know what it's like for that pager to go off at 2 a.m. I know what it's like to sit on the roadside with a grieving father. And I plan to equip our staff to care for these families with dignity and respect. Thank you.
Thank you. And we come back to the front again.
Thank you. Anybody that's worked for me or around me will be very quick to tell you I bring an energy to the office. My staff will tell you I'm always bringing the new ideas, and no matter what comes at us, I've got that energy. Those that experienced the fires and the floods that we went through over the last 12 years would come to me and say, I don't know how it is that you're up 20 hours a day. I'm going to fulfill that mission. What I bring uniquely to the office, in addition to simply that energy, is experience and wisdom from those years of service. And as I mentioned on my first part, as a deputy sheriff, I went from corner to corner of this county. I know what it means to meet people in those areas, not from a main building, from a courthouse or an office, but literally being out there with people as they go through those things. As a sheriff, I can tell you that while you may have seen me at the forefront and say, wow, that guy's in charge and leading, while you're also building relationships and collaboration, and I have those kind of connections throughout the state and throughout the nation. I prefer to learn from others and the experiences they share instead of just making all my own mistakes. So those are qualities that I bring that would be helpful to the office.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Lee. In terms of unique qualities that I believe I would bring to this position, that I have brought to this position as county commissioner, one is that I view my approach to this level of leadership, as was stated, as a servant leader. Public service, as I stated earlier, is really, really important to me, and the idea of bringing people together to solve very complex problems, working together, is a much better way to do this. I know the community over the years as a county commissioner, the past 4 years, and prior to that, I believe I've been successful at building trusting relationships that go beyond the labels that we often ascribe to ourselves, political labels and otherwise. I have always tried to be accessible in the community. Many of you know that on a regular basis, I have what we refer to as community conversations. And that's one way to be out in the community, to listen to folks. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should listen twice as much as we speak.
Thank you. And the next question, we're going to start with Tony. No? Oops, Angela. It's Angela's turn. You're number 1. Look at my list here. In what way would you promote or implement the department's diversity, equity, and inclusive policies and procedures?
You know, I'm very, very, very proud of the staff we have in the Clerk and Recorder's office. They are, I would say, the best in the nation. They do incredible work every day, and I'm very, very proud to say that we've had one of the most diverse teams in the county long before this topic was a hot topic on a daily basis. The reason for that is because we focus on the capabilities of the individual. And each person that comes to apply for a position with my office is judged on their capabilities, on their knowledge, experience, and qualities, attitude, and those kinds of things. And what I've found is we have a beautiful puzzle of people who are all very different, from all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities. I've also been very active in the disabled community and having them work in my office long before this topic was at the fore. And those folks have done a great job for us. We've just, it's something to be very, very, very proud of in the clerk's office. Thank you.
Stephen?
Yeah, so as coroner, as a death investigator, we are out in the community, and we have a very diverse community. And I want the office to represent our community and to be out and able to reach and communicate with everybody in all corners of our community. There's problems with language barriers when it comes to reviewing autopsy reports that are written in English and full of medical terminology. We need a staff in the office that can help translate those autopsy reports to the language that needs to be done, and that they can interpret the medical terminology for the families, and that they're representative of our communities, that they come from all walks of life. I want to be able to celebrate the diversity in our office and our community. I want to utilize all the employees in our office for their individual characteristics, for their education, for their abilities, and their diversity, and really celebrate that and champion that within the office, so that we can go out into the community and really serve everyone in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt?
Thank you, Lee. This is something I've been very proud about at our coroner's office. I recently hosted and put together the first interfaith conference It's a training between all the interfaith communities and the coroner's office. What I did is I reached out to the Muslim community, the Jewish community, the Baha'i community, Native American, Christian, and I brought all of them in to train the coroner's office, train us and our funeral homes, so that we understood how we could be culturally and spiritually aware of how they view death in their community. This is something that I am very big on. Ultimately, what I want is a conversation. I want a conversation with the public. I want to understand what is important to the communities within our larger county, and I want to work hard to make that a reality. I secured electric gurneys. When I started at the office, it was all men. And now we're predominantly female office. And one of the things I did is I got electric gurneys so that when we hire, it will really open up our pool of potential employees, because these gurneys can assist our employees as they do their lifting. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And we come back to the front.
Thank you. First, I got to say, I'm not a fan of putting labels on people under any conditions. I've not found labeling people by different characteristics, their backgrounds, to be of any value to me. What I have practiced was to get out and know the community and recognize each and every person is an individual. And at our office, we have worked very hard at that, making sure, I don't care where they come from, what their background is, that we're understanding their needs. So I would say it's not so much what I'm going to do as what we have done. We've got an office with people from all sorts of backgrounds, and I find that has made us a better office with more experience to rely on. But I don't believe simply putting the words diversity, equity, and inclusion into documents really changes anything. It feels good at the time, but I say simply look at the results of how we meet our community where they're at and meet their needs, not by my measures, but by what their needs are. Thank you.
John?
So this equity, diversity, and inclusion question, there are many different aspects to it. And for me personally, it is a very high priority. I think it does matter when we adapt our policies, change our policies to be more inclusive and to allow for people who historically have been underrepresented in these matters of county policy to ensure that they feel welcome and that they have a seat at the table. As I mentioned earlier, we established our first ever Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion board, 9 members from different walks of life. We have hired more people in the various departments that are Spanish-speaking people. And the last point I'll make that I think is really important is, as part of our strategic plan, our 5-year strategic plan, goal number 2, dealing with economic opportunities, one of the objectives there is for workforce development to help people with disabilities to find meaningful employment, and that's also very important. She's good.
Tony? Tony?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, I'm happy to. In what way would you promote or develop departments, the department for which you're running, their current or new diversity, equity, and inclusive policies and procedures?
Thank you. I think that diversity, equity, inclusion, I think they are so important, and I think that we need to search out and look for the opportunities to make sure that everyone is represented, no matter what the difference is. I think that just looking at the applications that are submitted is doing a disservice. I think that we need to be looking for those opportunities and finding people. And going out into the community and into the community that represents those areas that we want to bolster and search for good employees in those places.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
And Stephen, you're going to get the last question, to start the last question. What, if any, campaign finance reform measures might you support? So it's campaign finance reform.
Okay, I'm a small campaign, so I don't have a whole lot of resources as far as campaign finance support. But I think it's important that we're all on a level playing field. There's a lot of money coming in from outside groups that need to be adjusted or monitored because it really sets an unfair playing field, I believe, between candidates. But I think working with what I have within campaign finance and following those rules, I'm happy with the way things are going for my campaign at the grassroots level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What, if any, campaign finance reform measures might you support?
My goodness. I have to say, me sitting at my desk in the basement until 2 a.m, bugging every one of my friends, telling them to help me out. I'm not really certain what's out there. But personally, at least at our level, my experience at the coroner race, we've been submitting our reports and our filings appropriately, and I don't think I have a whole lot to say about campaign finance reform. I'm just a death investigator.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. There's two areas I think to touch on that we all would agree upon. One is that it should be a level playing field for those who want to seek office, and two, that it should be transparent, that where the monies come from should be known, who's backing those candidates. One of the loopholes that's out there is if you are a millionaire, multimillionaire, or billionaire, at any level of state office, you can put any kind of money into it, and your opponent, who is an average working person, has no chance at it. They can't go up against tens and hundreds of millions of dollars that are out there. I think that's something that rubs, I don't care what your politics are, that rubs us wrong. It feels like offices can be bought. The second is transparency. A lot of these things that have been pushed with good intentions of putting campaign limitations cause the independent expenditure campaign groups to be borne out, where if somebody gives to my campaign, you're going to see where that, or to John's campaign, you're going to see where that comes from. These IECs came out of the reform movement and actually drove it underground with tremendous amounts of money that also are buying elections and taking away transparency. So those are two areas that I think we need to continue to look at.
Thank you for the question. And this is an example of an issue that I think we have quite a bit of agreement with the sheriff, with Justin. I think that, well, first of all, campaign finance reform that was passed in the legislature a couple of years ago that pertains to county commissioner races. Right now, there's a limit on what personal contributions to county commissioner races. Prior to this campaign finance reform, there was no limit. It was unlimited. So that's an example where I think it helps to level the playing field. I also think that in general, greater transparency is really critical, so people understand what are the sources of money, and of course we have requirements about filing our campaign finance reports. The matter of independent expenditure committees, that's a complicated one, but I think a concern there is that there's not enough transparency, and that these outside monies may get involved in campaigns, and it's not clear what the sources of those funds are, and I think that undermines our representative democracy.
Thank you. Tony?
So I support publicly funded campaigns. I think that currently our system, as my fellow candidates have said, that the wealthy can buy seats, that it is disproportionately skewed, so that if someone that is connected to deep pockets is running, the person that isn't so connected doesn't even bother running. They don't, even though they are well qualified for the position, they don't bother running. They know that they can't win. They don't have the money. They don't have the backing. So I think it would give the voter back their decision on who can run. So I support publicly funded campaigns.
Okay. Angela?
Campaign finance is not an area that I have authority over as clerk and recorder, but I will say that I think Sheriff Smith's comments were, I would agree with them as well. I would just throw out there that it's not just about candidates. It's also about issue committees, right? And it's important that citizens take a moment to look at where the money's coming from that is pushing various ballot items on that show up on your ballot, is that money coming from local folks who really want that to happen, or is it coming from deep pockets across, maybe not even across the state, but maybe across the nation? And so sometimes you're not aware of that. I would just encourage all citizens who are voting on anything on the ballot, look at where the money is coming from to forward those questions that are on the ballot as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to move into the next phase of our questions, which we will be targeting the various offices. And thank you for handling the ones that we all had an opportunity to respond to. So we're going to start with the commissioners. And let's start with this question. Please give your opinion on Proposition 123, the Affordable Housing Initiative on this year's ballot. We'll start with Justin.
Well, a little bit like the coroner's candidates that said they weren't really up on where the issues were on the expenditures. I've been really focusing on my campaign locally, and I have not taken the time. I got my blue book yesterday to study each and every ballot initiative that's out there. So I don't have a lot of depth on 123 to know what it is. I certainly will be studying that before the election, but at this point, I don't have a lot of information to throw in.
Okay, John.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So Proposition 123 is one of 11 statewide ballot measures. It's a statutory change, and it's been brought forth to take a certain percentage of the state budget, 0.01%, I believe it is, that could amount to $300 million a year. So it's a statutory change. It's not a constitutional change. And those funds would be dedicated to address the enormous problem of the lack of affordable housing throughout the state. So I think the concept has a lot of merit. As most things, the devil is always in the details. I've not taken a formal position at this point, but I'm certainly open to what is intended here, and that is to dedicate more funds throughout the state to local jurisdictions to help address the affordable housing problem. You know, there will be an event, I think, next week to talk about this issue, and I would encourage people to look at it. And again, it is one of 11 statewide ballot measures. It's attempting to address the problem of affordable housing in our state.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. The next question we'll start with John. And this one is, how as County Commissioner, what will you do to protect the public health and the well-being of the Larimer County residents? And whose advice would you seek or rely on?
Lee, what was the last part of your question?
And whose advice might you seek and, that you would trust and rely on related to public health and well-being of residents?
So I understand. The first part is what, as County Commissioner, what we would do, I would do to protect public health. And is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And was there a second part to that? Forgive me.
Well, it's written as public health and well-being, but I think public health is fine.
So I think that's one of the values of our community that's most important. And we know, for example, that there are issues with our air quality. We often have air quality alert days. We just were the issue of ozone levels being a non-attainment area. Those are all concerns, and they affect people's public health, and they ultimately affect our economic activity, especially older adults, young children they're more at risk regarding respiratory ailments. It's a serious problem. What we are doing about it, I don't have the time to really get into it, but we have passed, I think, strong and effective regulations regarding oil and gas. We are deploying air quality monitors around the county. We just hired an air quality public health person who will be trained to utilize an infrared camera that can look at methane emissions and volatile organic compounds and other things that get into the air. So there's a lot that we can do to address air pollution, and that's really important.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Can I ask you for clarification to repeat the question to make sure I'm
absolutely. As a county commissioner, what would you do to protect the public health of the community, the well-being of the community? And also, there's a related question of whose advice would you rely on or seek?
Thank you for that question and the clarification there. I think one of the things that's very obvious, we just went through something that has not happened in probably almost any of our lifetimes, was a pandemic that rocked the world. It brought about public health issues and concerns and brought about parts of our local, state, and federal government that most people didn't know a whole lot about. When it came to the CDC and it came to public health at the state and local level, we learned a lot that none of us knew of what those powers and what happens in a huge unknown. I think one of the challenges is while the statute says that we appoint a public health director, we task one individual in this county with knowing everything there was to know about public health. We saw that at the state and federal level, there were a lot of differing opinions, and that gets to be challenging when you ask one person to make all those decisions. A lot of what we've talked about up here is being collaborative and listening to different voices. There is no one person through that knew all the answers, and I would simply say that one of the things that we need to do is make sure if we have another situation like that, we're listening broadly to folks about the implications, and not just one public health director, but a variety of folks who have background and expertise and sometimes find some differing opinions.
Okay, thank you. And I believe, Justin, you have the next question to kick it off. What's the best way the county can be financially prepared for future emergencies? This is regard to forest fires, flooding, the kind of disasters that we've dealt with.
Well, you just pitched me one that is right in my field. As the county sheriff, I was responsible for search and rescue and the county fire warden, so we have been heavily involved. I can tell you there's a few things. One is at that county budget level. We were blessed over the years that when these happened, we had boards who would set money aside, recognizing that you don't spend everything that you're allowed to spend. You keep it because when the state's largest wildfire, the worst flood we've seen, happens in your county, you have to have those funds. Part of what that means is looking ahead, not spending your money every year into programs, but further than that, I know there's a lot of efforts to push more into mitigation work. A big thing that got us in trouble during fires was that mitigation hadn't been done. We had a lot of beetle kill. We knew that was a heavy issue. So we need to make sure we're planning for future issues like that, and that we're learning when we had the floods last time, that we get smarter about where we build infrastructure and where homes are at so we can reduce the potential of that happening again in the future.
Mm-hmm. John?
Thank you for the question. And so, from a budget perspective, we have what's called the general fund balance, and we have not been spending all the money. We've been setting aside money. We have about $10 million set aside to help with natural disaster emergencies and things related to wildfires and floods. So we are preparing in terms of having the resources locally to be able to address what we're seeing as more intense natural disasters. The Cameron Peak fire was the biggest fire in Colorado history in 2020, almost 209,000 acres. The burn scars that were very intense are causing flooding issues. So we are setting aside the resources. We also have our Office of Emergency Management, which is top-notch, which works very closely with the Sheriff's Office, and much credit to the work that they do in their emergency services. So we are setting aside the resources. We are doing a lot of watershed recovery and restoration, and that's there's a lot more to it.
Thank you. And John, you'll start the next question. You'll start the next question. I'll give you the next one too.
You could, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Lee.
And this is kind of related. In the face of ever-increasing extreme weather events, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, wildfires, do you have a plan to reduce Larimer County's contribution to global warming while adapting to our changing climate?
Well, I would hope that Larimer County will not be contributing to global warming. I think the question is around what
Climate
is the
change.
county planning to do regarding climate change that we're seeing in Larimer County in terms of intense weather events, wildfires and everything else that we've just talked about, drought, mega drought, hotter days, warmer temperatures, and all of that. One of the things that I believe I was in many ways responsible for was that we established what we call the Climate Smart Future Ready strategies for a sustainable Larimer County. We're in phase 3 of that initiative, and we're now working with the community, engaging to look at actually implementing our action plan. So we are looking at this issue very carefully, and we are looking at adaptation, mitigation measures. How do we reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and ultimately adapt for a changing future, especially people who live in the wildland-urban interface.
Please, Justin.
When you look at this, looking at this issue, one of the things we have to do is be realistic about what those options are. One of those issues is that Colorado has some of the strictest oil and gas regulations right now for cleanliness. But unfortunately, part of what we've done in this county is we've further restricted the ability and the opportunity to extract those here. That's not keeping anybody else from using fossil fuels. What it's doing is it drives that demand to other areas of the country, other areas of the world, where we know that their extraction and their use of it is a lot dirtier than what we have here. So one of the things we got to be realistic. We can't just shut down the production here. We have to recognize this is a transition. Looking at that, in my lifetime, tailpipe emissions in automobiles, according to the EPA, are down 99% in the pollutants that are released. And so we recognize that technology helps us along the way as we look at other energy sources that have less impact on the environment. But we do remember that a lot of them being pushed now have battery technology that's causing a lot of problems around the world. So we need to really have wisdom and be cautious about how we make those changes and do them in the right way.
Okay, good. And now we'll start again with you, Justin. This question refers to a threat to public safety being the opioid and fentanyl problem. How can the county commissioners contribute to a solution? There's a related question regarding about whether there is adequate funding for mental health in the county. So you can treat those both as the same
I'll bring
question.
those together. No, thank you. And certainly as a sheriff, I'm aware of that. We are out individually. Deputy sheriffs, along with the coroner's office and our first responder community, are seeing these deaths firsthand every day. I can tell you one of the things that we have moved forward on, and this was a bipartisan effort, was 1A from several years ago that we're putting up a treatment center between Fort Collins and Loveland. That's an area where we said the state is not doing what we believe they should do. We came together locally and said we're going to make that happen. The citizens funded that. So that project is in the works right now. That is certainly going to help, and as well as on the mental health in general. I know John and I have both been active in watching how that develops. It's important that we're out there, but certainly one of the other issues is we as a society have to make sure we're changing our messaging, because far too many young people are receiving the message that using these dangerous and deadly opioids is an okay thing. It's a recreation. We need to get back to our families and our kids, and we can't just do it on the treatment end. We have to do prevention, and that's being willing to come out and have those tough conversations ahead of time. And along with that, we need to have the tools to deal with those opioid dealers that are killing people, because what we have now is not adequate.
Jen?
Thank you. Thank you for your response, Justin. The first thing that comes to mind regarding the opioid epidemic, which has taken too many lives, the county participated very actively in the effort on the part of the state of Colorado with the Attorney General's office to help resolve the opioid settlement with some of the largest pharmaceuticals. So that means that there's millions of dollars that are coming to the state of Colorado over the next 20 years. And in Larimer County, we formed a regional council, a 5-member council that includes one county commissioner, the public health director, and folks from the community and also representation from Jackson County. So we are now looking at ways to use those funds in a way that will help address the opioid fentanyl epidemic. Also, the behavioral health facility, the voters resoundingly passed that sales tax initiative, 0.25%. It's resulted in dedicated money that is helping to build our comprehensive acute care behavioral health services facility, put out money into the community. And finally, we also have the most extensive community corrections, where we're looking at people who, diverting them from incarceration to address their mental health, behavioral health issues. Thank you.
Good. I'm a little concerned, Gwen, that we want to make sure we have plenty of time for the other two offices. So if it's all right with you, I'm going to just take one more question, give you one more question. And so I guess we'll start with John again. You're going to like this question, gentlemen. You both have served as in county's offices for many years. What are you most proud of during your tenures?
Well, in county office, of course, I've served 4 years. I did serve 12 years in the state legislature.
Right.
And when that question is asked, interestingly, the first thing that comes to mind, I think we've achieved a lot of good policy objectives, and the remaining 45 seconds doesn't allow me to get into that. So what comes to mind is that I'm most proud of is I've always tried to get beyond the labels. I've always tried to bring people together to solve the problems. I think we've had success in building relationships. This work is all about relationships and building trust, and certainly with our community and fellow elected officials. So I'm very proud of what we've accomplished to establish community conversations, to build trusting relationships, and somehow work as best as we can to unify our community, to try to get beyond the partisan politics of divisive, toxic politics that we often see. So I'm very proud of those efforts, and I believe we've had reasonable success. Thank you.
Justin?
I got to say, this one gives me a lot of pause, serving as your sheriff over the last 12 years through High Park Fire, the 2013 floods, and then Cameron Peak and East Troublesome Fire and all that happened during that year during COVID. I can tell you the thing I am most proud of was simply the spirit and the character that my staff and those other, how this community came together. Some of the best things in here come out of some of the worst situations. We could have taken that and been a community that tore apart and went after each other and left neighbors hanging. I saw just the opposite. I saw people come together. In Pinewood Springs, when folks were totally cut off up there, I saw their friends from Estes Park come and rebuild a road for them so they could get their kids to school. I saw forest firefighters build a new road out so they could close down their houses and they could get off down to the valley where most of them had. I saw example after example of that, our community and our folks. And I'm just so proud that we are that kind of community. I was blessed to be here during those tough times, and I'm proud of the results. We're a tougher community for it.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, both of you, for answering all those questions. And now we'll move on to the clerk and recorder candidates. And we'll start with Tony. And this is the first question. One I think we all understand well from just watching the news. County clerks and election workers have recently come under increased public and political scrutiny, including threats. How should the county address these issues and risks?
Very seriously. I think that anyone that threatens a county worker or an election worker should be prosecuted. I don't think that there should be any leeway. In everyday life, I don't think anybody should be threatened, but just because you are trying to do a job, I don't think that you should be in fear for your property, your life, or anything like that. So,
and Angela?
The work of a clerk and recorder is very, very public facing, and it's noisy out there. It's always noisy out there. So the noise is a little bit more deafening this year than it had in the last couple of years than it has been otherwise. But there's always noise, and I think that when you sign up to do this, you sign up to deal with that and interact with that in a very constructive way, right? I welcome citizens with any question of any kind, happy with me or not happy with me, concerned about the process or not concerned about the process, to contact me directly. That is one of the hallmarks of my tenure as clerk. Over these 10 years, I give out my cell phone readily, and folks use it when it's needed, and that's what should be. I think election systems that are questioned are healthier. We have not, I want to make real clear, it was said earlier, we've got exceptional citizens in this county, and we do. And I am very, very proud to tell you that we've not seen threats in Larimer County toward our election workers. It doesn't make them any less serious, but we're very blessed here in Larimer County. Thank you.
Good. Good. And we'll start with you, Angela, on this next question. what would you suggest be done, or what would you like to do, or what would you do to attract more people to become an election judge? And do you have a problem getting enough election judges?
You know, I would encourage every single citizen to consider being an election judge. You will never have a more rewarding experience. You will encounter people of differing political persuasions and differing views of life than you have, and you will learn that they're wonderful people, just like you. And the collaborative spirit that folks work with together in as election judges is just amazing. And those friendships, even though, because everything we do is in a bipartisan team, remember, no one ever works alone. And so they're always getting to know folks of a differing political viewpoint than them. Politics stays out, and they form really close friendships that last many years. As far as getting more judges, you know, folks ask me often, do you need more judges? I always tell people, sign up to be a judge. You never know, because it is a long window of time that we need judges. It's also, we don't make exception. We don't make exceptions for your doctor's appointments and your mini vacations or your child's game. And so that sometimes people sign up and they drop out. So I encourage everybody always to sign up. There's no limit on the number of people we would like to have in our coffers. Thank you.
Good. Tony?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. What would you do to attract more people to become election judges?
I've heard from many constituents that they have signed up to be election judges and that they were turned away. And this is year after year after year. I don't know the reasons specifically for that, but I think that the process needs to be that we give everyone a chance, that we don't just have all of the same people every year, that we give people that are signing up for the first time or maybe even the second time and didn't get to be in the first time, that they get a chance to be an election judge. I think that expanding the opportunities will bring in more people. Thank you.
Okay. And Tony, you'll be first to this next question now.
Okay.
And that is, what would you do to increase voter turnout in midterm elections?
I think that we need to have more voter, what's the word? Well, education. Yeah, that's a good word. Thank you. They don't have as much information. We do have, our county does do a decent job of putting out information, but I think that there could be so much more transparency with the office of having people come and see what the office is all about, having them do tours and participate in different aspects of the election process so they understand why these elections are important and what they mean to them.
Mm-hmm. Angela?
The most important job for me as clerk and recorder is to make sure that folks can access the election process across the board. So, you know, I don't go out and choose the kind of voters that I want to get in there. We got to treat all voters exactly the same. And so we just need to be sure that we have everything in place that makes it as easy as possible for folks to know about the process and to engage in the process. And we do. It's quite amazing. We've got all kind of options for voters across the board in Colorado, from voting in person to getting your ballot in the mail to dropping it in a drop box to putting it in the mailbox or delivering it in person to a voting site. Mm-hmm. And, you know, voters really vote because they're interested. They don't vote because I try to convince them to vote. They vote because they're interested in something that's on the ballot. And so really it's the candidates being active. It is the issue committees being active that get folks enthusiastic about voting, right? I need to make sure that I make it easy and understandable and transparent. And conform with all the laws and rules and regulations. So I encourage everybody to vote. Every single vote matters.
Good. Then the next question is, again, we'll start with Angela. What knowledge or experience do you have regarding the Dominion voting system in software used in elections that has come in the news so much?
What experience do I have with it?
Well, obviously you have experience,
Yeah.
but
Okay,
knowledge and knowledge about it. Yeah.
Yeah, you bet. Dominion voting systems have been used in Larimer County since prior to my tenure there. We had a very, very decrepit old system that needed to be replaced, and we have replaced it since then. And Dominion bought out the company that we had before, and so I have a lot of exposure to Dominion. I know them well, and when I need to interact with them, I do. I got them on my speed dial, and I can get them as I need. I do not have concerns in Larimer County about Dominion voting equipment. Let's make that real clear. And the reason I don't is because I know that we have checks and balances in place, that we check the operation of those units before we begin to make sure they're counting the ballots exactly as they were voted. And we have risk limiting audits at the end that confirm that indeed every ballot was counted exactly as it was voted. And in between there, we have very dramatic checks and balances on chains of custody. Those units are never, ever, ever connected to the internet. And I could go on, but my time is up.
Okay, thank you. Tony?
Not being actually in the clerk's office at this moment, I don't have any experience with the Dominion voting system. Thank you.
Okay, good. Good. And this is going to be the last question for the two of you that we have. Why do you think it is important that the county clerk serve on the SOS, I assume that means Secretary of State, election and security boards? And are there opportunities for improvement in the county? So those kind of go together, I guess. Well, let's take them one at a time. Is it important that the county clerk participate on boards, election and security boards out of the Secretary of State's office?
I think it is important that they communicate and participate with the different boards so that they know what is going on and what the current and updated processes are, procedures, rules, regulations. Yeah, I think it's important.
Mm-hmm. Angela?
I'm not certain exactly what board you're speaking about, but collaboration with the Secretary of State's office happens all the time. You cannot run an election without an interaction on a regular basis. I participate with my colleagues across the state on every single issue that comes up regarding elections. So a very deep knowledge of what is going on and the questions raised by the noise out there is absolutely required, and I certainly have that. Security is a question that comes up often these days, and I got to tell you, we are taking action to make sure that we are as secure and more secure all the time. You know, the bad guys never quit working on ways to get through and figure out how to undermine any system, and so we always are. In the clerk's office, I have implemented recently a management position that looks at IT. Specifically, I'm looking at cybersecurity when I say that, but there are so many aspects that I could go into, and time does not allow me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the coroner's position, the coroner's office, and we'll start with Stephen. And here's your first question. What do you see in your role in the role in this office in informing the public about current trends for causes of death in Larimer County?
What was the last part of that question?
It's about informing the public about current trends of causes of death. Let's just say about causes of death.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
current trends and causes of death. There's, of course, with the COVID pandemic, there's a lot of questions about cause of death, whether it was caused due to COVID or they died of COVID. I want to be engaged in the community. There's a lot of the community that doesn't understand or hasn't seen a death certificate or how it's written or how it's laid out. So I've been going around this summer as I'm meeting new people, telling them the process of the death certificate, that it's cause of death A due to B due to C, and there's another line for other significant conditions, and another part of the coroner's office is that we really want the primary care physician to sign death certificates, the hospital where a person was there for a prolonged period. It's important that the doctor that knows that patient signs that death certificate. But I want to work with the people so they know how it should be filled out. I want to work with doctors so they know the appropriate way to fill out death certificates, and call them and educate the doctors and medical staff as well on that whole process, and keeping up with the trends in the community on the cause and manner of death through the Coroners Association and the Medical Examiners Associations.
Okay, Matt?
Thank you. I believe that the coroner's office has a vital role to play in sharing death trends. This kind of goes to what I was talking about, how the data that we have can actually save lives. My hope is that the coroner's office will have an active role in the public health and public safety sphere. So here's part of what I'm talking about. With the data dashboard that we're actively building with IT, which I'm hoping will be done here in the next 2 months, this dashboard, you'll be able to go on and say, okay, manner and cause of death by age, by gender, by ethnicity, by circumstance. All of these things are filters that our data dashboard are going to allow the public to look at. So I think that the coroner's office is a massive responsibility to provide this data to the public health department, to UC Health, to primary care physicians, so that they understand, hey, we have an uptick in sudden cardiac events. We have an uptick in cancer in this area. So I think that that's a vital role that we can serve as the coroner.
Okay, good. And the next question, we'll start with you, Matt. And it's kind of related, and you may feel like you've covered it, but maybe in a little more detail. The role of the coroner's office in reporting deaths caused by communicable diseases to the CDC or to the state health department, or both.
Absolutely. I believe that data sharing is not just a one-way endeavor. I think that our agency needs to be sharing data both up and down to the public, but also up to the state. So, for example, when we have a communicable disease or when we have an infectious disease, for example, we had a recent death of malaria. We wanted to communicate that directly to the state level because we want to share information. Those epidemiologists at the state, they need our information from Larimer County. For example, in 2023, I signed a grant with the Colorado Department of Public Health so that we will now be sharing suicide data. And this is the first time this has been done in the coroner's office history, because I want those experts at the state level who are looking at the broad picture of suicide in our county to say, okay, what's going on in Larimer? It's kind of a black box. So starting in 2023, we're going to be sharing all that data directly with the state. So 100% I am on board with sharing data both up to the state and down to the public.
Okay. Stephen?
And absolutely, it's my goal that data sharing, accessibility to data, transparency of data is essential to public service. With communicable diseases, we need to communicate and bring that information up to the state level. I've been out of the coroner's office while I've been going to law school for 3 years, and I've been following along and trying to look at the data and the information coming in. And I see people talking about data at the state level, data at the national level, on communicable diseases, on suicide, on traffic accidents and gun violence, but I don't see it at the Larimer County level. Now, it's apparently happening in the background, and it's a work in progress, but it's time. It needs to come out, and it should be available now as they're working on a dashboard. We have community partners that are fighting suicide and communicable diseases and gun violence that need data that can work with that data for their missions, for their budget, and draft their plans and monitor their success. Okay. So I'm all about data sharing and getting it out there as quickly as possible and accurately.
Good. Stephen, we'll start with you for this next question then. This question, I believe, comes from an appreciation that there must be a lot of stress and a lot of let's just say that a lot goes on in the coroner's office that could lead to stress among staff. concerning mental health, how do you plan to care for the staff at the coroner's office?
Yeah, so mental health is a big concern for me. When you're in the coroner's field, when you're a first responder, burnout and mental health is going to happen. It shouldn't be part of the job, but it's there in the background. We need to be able to monitor it. We need to be able to care for it, and we need to be able to address it. So having a procedure in the office of peer support where there's trained, we're all trained to look after one another, and we can bring in resources as well. But branching out, because the coroner's office doesn't go to death scenes by themselves. We're there with fire and EMS and law enforcement. We go to the hospitals. There's all these other groups and partners that have resources in-house that I would like to partner with as well. Get together, share resources, share experiences, and look after one another's mental health and physical health is very important to me.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Again, been very innovative and active in this area, and I'll tell you why. Last year, I investigated the death of a small boy, and it almost cost me my career. It shook me to my core, and I realized immediately that this is not just keeping staff safe physically. It's about keeping them resilient mentally and giving them not only, critical incident debriefs for postvention, but I'm talking about preventative care. So here's what we've done. Here's the actions that I've taken as your chief. We've signed a peer support agreement with a premier first responder peer support organization, and they will be providing peer support services, and our staff can sign up to be those peer support counselors. I doubled our training budget through a petition to the county commissioners. We doubled our training budget because I not only wanted our staff to have forensic science training and blood spatter analysis or child death investigation, but I wanted them to have resiliency training so that they don't burn out after 2 years in this field. I want to see people have long, productive, and healthy careers at the coroner's office because that's the best way that they can serve our families moving forward. This is incredibly important to me.
Mm-hmm. Good. And Matt, we're going to start with you on this question. What part of the coroner's job do you think the public needs to understand better? It might be parts rather than part.
It really is difficult for me to say part. I think the whole thing, if I'm being honest. Most people do not know what we do.
Yeah.
The reality is this: 8 people die in Larimer County every day, if you average it out. Every single one of those deaths is reported to our office. So here's something that I envision. When we have our social media platform, what I want to do is open the doors to our office. I want to say, hey, look at this is one of our autopsy technicians. He's going to med school next year. Hey, here's some of the new equipment we've secured for our office. Hey, make sure when you're going out boating this weekend, you wear your life preserver. I want to open up our office to the community so they can understand what we do every single day. Monthly or quarterly, I want to sit at a coffee shop or a brewery, hopefully a brewery, and we'll have a coroner conversation or a community conversation. I ultimately want a conversation between the public and our office. I get requests daily from students who say, "What do you do?" And so this is my vision. My vision for the future of the office is one of transparency, one of openness. I just want to continue the good work that we're already doing to try to educate our public.
Mm-hmm. Stephen?
Yeah, so a lot of the community, they know we do death investigations and they know we do autopsies, and they know little else. A lot of people don't realize that coroner is an elected position and what else we can do. So, I see that as a failure of the coroner's office. We haven't done enough community engagement. And so that's really what I've been doing. I haven't just been campaigning over the summer. I've been going to community events and really talking to people and informing them of what the coroner's office does. Because through this community engagement, through talking with people, I'm building trust, I'm building rapport in the community. So people will know that the coroner's office is approachable, that it's accessible, and that it's open to them for their questions and concerns, and that they can come to us and that they're welcome and that we'll answer the phone call when they call. As an investigator, I gave my cell phone number out to every family I encountered with, and nobody abused that privilege. I wanted them to call me in the middle of the night when they had those burning questions. So I want to continue my community engagement. I'm very active on my Facebook page now on what I'm doing, where I'm going, and how the community could be best served by the coroner's office. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll give you one last question for the coroner's position. And that has, some of these questions I think we've dealt with through the other questions that we've asked everybody. So I'm going to word it a little differently. And that is, in the coroner's office, you must have important partners in other agencies and in other parts of the community. Who are those partners and how do you work with them? We'll start with you, Steve. Stephen.
Yeah, so the normal partners you think of are going to be the law enforcement, the first responders, paramedics, fire, hospitals, hospice, nurses. But what I want to do is I want to expand that. When I think about bringing in diversity and inclusion into the office, I was at the Northern Colorado Latino Chamber of Commerce talking with people there because they have family members and friends, and many of them are in a healthcare industry as well that don't realize they can their skills and their education would benefit the coroner's office, and we're a line of work that might be interesting to them. I'm going out and I'm meeting with groups that aren't the normal partners you would think of that we work with day to day. I'm gotten really close with the Alliance for Suicide Prevention, and I hear their struggles about getting data from the office, and I'm working with them to get data and information out. So I'm using my creative problem solving and innovation to build partnerships, to grow the community, and meet with people that are not really related to what we do as the coroner's office, but I think would have benefit and help us grow and help the community grow for public safety and health reasons.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody is a partner of the coroner's office because every one of us is human and every organization has human beings in it. I talked to Homeward Alliance, who deals with homelessness in our community. I talked to the Alliance of Suicide Prevention. I talked to our local law enforcement partners, the district attorney's office, our local funeral homes. I think that our office can have a truly impactful conversation with each of these organizations because there's groups of these people. Going back to that interfaith dialogue, I had no idea some of the beliefs that were held by these different groups, and I'm all about the conversation. I want to hear from the public, and so I believe that this is in keeping with my vision for what the future of the office will be, is a truly substantial, meaningful public dialogue. I think it applies to everybody.
Okay, thank you. We're going to do something a little bit different now, and these are really easy. You just say yes or no or agree or disagree. They call them the quick round. And so we'll start all over again with Justin. And you can say another sentence or two, but it's really meant to be yeah or no, that kind of thing. So the first, and they're a little hard to answer sometimes. The first one is publicly, do you agree or disagree? This is a agree or disagree. Publicly financed campaigns would limit the influence of money and promote diversity among candidates.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
I agree.
I agree.
I would disagree with that.
I agree.
I'm the only one struggling here. What did you ask? I am so sorry.
This is an agree or disagree.
Okay.
Publicly financed campaigns would limit the influence of money and promote diversity among candidates.
When you're saying publicly financed, you mean that grassroots efforts are out, or can you elaborate?
That I believe the concept is that there would be more public money available to candidates once they had the nominations.
Public money is in taxpayer money?
Yes.
Oh, I'm not in favor of that.
Okay. We know we are. Here's another one. These are not easy. Do you believe county employees should have the right to collectively bargain? We'll start with John. Yeah. Collectively bargain.
Yes, and the county, Larimer County, engaged with the state with regard to the collective bargaining bill that passed to make sure that it was less onerous for local jurisdictions.
Mm-hmm. Tony?
Absolutely agree.
I'm going to follow John's lead and say I am not in favor of collective bargaining. I'm following his lead by saying a little more, though. I think that it had its place at one time, but our county employee satisfaction surveys show that they are generally very satisfied, and I think they work against themselves
Okay.
if they, as public employees, more taxes comes out of their own pockets as well.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I would support collective bargaining with county employees.
Matt?
I do not have enough information about collective bargaining within the county level to give any response to this question.
Fair
I'm
enough.
really focused on death
Fair enough.
investigation.
Well, I'm going to address, because this came out as a piece of legislation last year. That right existed before. However, when the bill passed through, it failed to recognize how county government was structured and didn't recognize that each individual elected officer is the one who has those employment contracts with their employees. It put it towards the commissioners. So while I recognize the right for our employees to do it, it was done in a way that is going to end up in court because the legislature didn't take the time to listen to county officials.
Okay. Next question, and this will be the last of the quick rounds, and then we'll start with you, Tony. And that would be, are you in favor of ranked choice voting?
Absolutely.
I am your election official, and I cannot comment on that because that is a question on the ballot, and that is my
Fair enough.
integrity in office.
You get a pass.
I support ranked choice voting.
Okay.
As the chief deputy coroner, I have no opinion on ranked choice voting.
That's fair enough. Okay.
I'm going to simply say it's a concept that has been oversold. It has a lot of complexities to it, and it's not proven. I think it can create more concern and disenfranchise voters.
Mm-hmm.
And for those reasons, I don't believe it's the right choice for us.
John?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, that's the end of the quick round. And now I think we should move into your closing statements. And I guess we should start with you, Justin.
Thank you. So here's the 1 minute close. I'm going to simply ask you this. Do not judge me by anything I'm telling you here tonight. Don't trust that. Judge me by what I've done over the last 12 years as your sheriff. We talk about transparency. Have you seen me bring issues to you before they get found? If there's something bad, do I bring it to you? Yes or no? When it comes to accountability, when something happens at the sheriff's office, do I point fingers in different directions? Or whether you like my decision or not, do I stand up and own that decision? Yes, I have. Last, that issue of being community focused. It's a broad piece. I listen to a lot of folks. I have a lot of input from staff and from the citizens. And if you look at what I've done, how I've made your sheriff's office serving you, respecting the community, I'm going to take those same things to the office of county commissioner, bring those same qualities. I'm also going to bring something we talked about, and that's diversity. The word diversity came up, and diversity is diversity of thought. We currently have a board all from one party, and yet the citizens from this community come from different parties. It's very valuable to have somebody who may have a differing opinion. I'm going to bring that respectfully to my board of county commissioners. Thank you.
John?
Well, in closing, first of all, I want to express my gratitude for all of you to being here this evening. It's really important when folks show up. I'm running for a second term as your county commissioner for lots of reasons, but I think fundamentally it's a continuation of my dedication to public service. And as I said earlier, my approach is as a servant leader, as a team member. We have made great progress these last 4 years in the areas of infrastructure, expanding economic opportunities, and customer service. There's unfinished work to be done, and I would like to be part of the team that helps to achieve what needs to be achieved in the next 4 years. I will continue to engage with the community and be out there in the community, and I will continue to engage with my fellow elected officials. I don't know how many folks know there are actually 10 of us, and I think overall we work very well together, and I will continue that, and that is important.
I want to say thank you for everyone for coming out. Thank you for facilitating this League of Women Voters, and thank you for having me and bearing with me and my stumbling. I love this county, and I see great potential in it. There were promises made 4 years ago that never came to fruition. Instead, we have had agendas pushed and rules and regulations ignored, county resources used inappropriately. I've always believed that actions speak louder than words, that if you have the time to complain, then you have the time to be of service. I will work hard for you. If you want to find out more, go to bakerforlarimer.com. Thank you.
Angela?
Thank you, everyone, for being here. You know, I have a passion for this office, and I have been honored to serve you these many years. We have an exceptional staff, and I believe that two of the most important things for me to do as a leader is to give that staff what they need in order to take the office to new heights, right? The brain trust is in the folks who do the job. And I had been very dedicated to making sure that those opportunities are there for staff to rise to the challenges. Those challenges then reflect for the citizen who comes into the office. Your experience directly reflects that. And the citizen surveys have consistently told us during the 10 years I have been your clerk that folks are extremely satisfied with our services. 94% satisfaction, 90% satisfaction, and 84% satisfaction in each of the three offices, with 84 being vehicle licensing, which means elections is 90.6 and recording is 94%. I don't know how you get results better than that, and I'm honored to continue on that trajectory. Thank you.
Stephen?
All right, thanks again, everybody, for attending here tonight and attending online and watching the videos. But I'm really excited. I'm passionate about the work I did as the coroner's office, as an investigator and as an autopsy assistant. I'm excited to bring my education and my growth to the community. I'm going to bring creativity, creative problem solving, innovation to the office. And I'm going to be transparent and accessible. With me as coroner, you're not going to have to guess on what's going on in the office. I'm going to be engaged in the community. You're going to see me around at your events. You're going to be able to call me and talk to me and see what's going on. And that's a promise I can make, because I'm doing that now. I'm developing these partnerships and I'm putting in the work today. So when I'm in the office, we can really hit the ground running and put this vision and these plans into action. And I'll be there for you and be part of the community. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to come out this evening. I think this is fascinating and amazing. I'm excited to be a part of this community. I'm your current chief deputy coroner, which means that I'm responsible for the day-to-day operation of our coroner's office. Every single day, the staff of our office goes into our community and does an impossible job. I'm blown away by the work that they do. I'm very proud of them. Several of them are here tonight. I want to leave you with this. I'm endorsed by the outgoing coroner. I'm endorsed by our local funeral home community, our local law enforcement community, our regional coroner community. I have bipartisan support. The coroner of Boulder County, who's a Democrat, is crossing the political aisle to endorse me, a Republican, because she knows that I'm not a political person, that I'm here for one thing and one thing only, and that is to take care of the families of this county with dignity and respect, and to accurately determine the manner and cause of death. When I became the chief, I put up a sign above the morgue door. It says, "Seek the truth with dignity and respect," as a reminder that every person who enters our facility, no matter how they arrive there, is a human being, and we should treat them with kindness and dignity. As your next coroner, I will continue my service to the county by caring for not only the staff, but also the public. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Gwen, do we have statements? No. We do not. Okay. Then I would like to give a big thank you to our candidates who've done such a nice job tonight. We so appreciate you. Additional forums will be held October 6th for the Colorado State House of Representatives, District 52, 53, and 65 candidates, October 12th for Colorado State District 15 and House District 49 candidates. Your ballots will be mailed out shortly. I believe they go out on October 17th. Is that correct? Be sure to return your ballots by 7 p.m. on Election Day, November 8th. And thanks to all of you for coming. We so appreciate it. Bye.